So thank you all for coming. We've got a very, let's say, general topic to discuss here. So wide playfield. There's a lot of us. Let's try to be concise, brief, and straight to the point, if that's possible. So, well, I'm going to start with development, since, well, it comes first in the value chain. Well, nowadays the grid in Spain seems to be kind of dry for pure generation projects, at least, and grid access auctions don't seem to happen soon enough. Let's put it like that. So, well, and also regulation evolves slowly, way slower than the market pace. So many people are forced to take action basically under the expectation of new regulations being passed sometime, hopefully soon. So and this is a question for both Maria and Jose Angel, whoever wants to pick it first. What's the type of projects that you see being developed going forward in Spain?
Well, thank you, everyone, for your attention today. I like it how you put it, slow enough or not slow enough. I think the delays that we've been experiencing in the last 3 years in accessing into the grid can be understood in two-way fold. Maybe the demand and the interest is so big, being very positive into this, that, well, the regulation is a little bit behind those interests. But it's also very true that the lack of capacity to access is, making us as developers, in my case, my company, Erasmus Power2X, we are trying to develop both solar and hydrogen, as we see as a combination, as a successful combination of those technologies, really need to be creative. The fact that we are trying to secure future-proof regulation would think, okay, which projects will be the successful one? If you had had some experience in renewables, you may know that the sector can go up and down, and you need to know where is the market now. Are we in the peak of the hill or are we in the valley of the peak? It doesn't matter, because I can secure my projects by doing my homework. So the projects that would succeed in this experience will be the ones that has done his homework, securing the land, talking to the local. I think the former panel was very explicit in saying it is the same importance to have the technology secure, but also the approval from the welcoming and the okay from the local. So if all the puzzles are okay, then you go next step. I talk to the decision makers and I say, let me help you on the regulation. And just to be brief in this first introduction, we've seen a lot of delays for wind and solar, but I think we will manage to avoid that in hydrogen, because it's trying to do things a little bit better, I believe. I'm now putting to my phone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Well, I agree with Maria that considering the current landscape of the word that you used, I think it was grid dry. I think it was quite good, the definition. We need to be very creative. We are developers, so we understand that we need to take early positions, having to understand the current risk, and based on that, building a diversified portfolio. We've seen, among other players in the market, plenty of activity on the hybridization side and collocation. I think currently is the low-hanging fruit. So most of the IPPs or people with projects under development, they are using that opportunity to keep on for the next years, having some projects in the pipeline. And then we see plenty of activity on the hydrogen side. And our case, we are technology diversified, so we're doing early stage wind projects. We are also working on the hybrid side and also betting on the hydrogen. Obviously, we understand that all this technology may have different stages of maturity. But it's true that the current regulatory landscape generates interference, so let's hope that in the future, once the grid is available again, we don't have a kind of a snowball effect. So let's see how the grid gets open again and we can have a sustainable development of the projects in Spain.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's interesting because you said that you expect that these new technologies, if we can call them that way, will be, at least the projects will be developed faster than the ones of these more mature technologies. But at the same time, storage and hydrogen projects often rely on business models that are not super certain, or at the very least complicated and well, uncertain anyway. This may be for regulatory reasons, for market reasons, whatever it is. So my question, and shifting from the pure developers to the sponsors or investors in this panel, how do you build a solid business case out of these uncertainties, especially in revenue streams? Maria, Jose Angel, and then perhaps Hugo and Jorge.
Okay, I'll break the ice. That's okay. How can we make hydrogen a business case, a successful business case? Let me, as my experience in hydrogen. Okay, we do it in a collaborative way. If we learn from the experience of the I can say now, very reliable sources as are solar and wind, and we are comfortable that hydrogen is the energy source that will boost the renewables economy for the future-proof. I think we can, the building blocks to building a successful case, but it will be, as I said, in a collaborative way. It will be in the value chain of the hydrogen. That means from the push, reducing the cost of the electricity to the minimum to make it work, but also combining with maybe collaborative efforts with PPAs, with wind, maybe virtual, maybe closing valleys of hydrogen. We are already talking to between developers, something that we've not seen in the past. The pipe is enough for everyone, but also is also in the pool. I need to sell. This is a green molecule. You touch it. The way to do that is by transport and off-takers. Don't want to elaborate so much further, but it is really a collaborative effort, and I think all the minds that we are in the business, we will do it such in that effort.
Thank you. Jose, what's your view on that? Or Jose...
Maybe I can
go ahead.
touch a bit about the battery side of things. I mean, if we look at the Spanish market compared to other European markets or the Australian market, which is much more advanced, we see that we're still missing key ingredients, right? To basically have a solid business case, have a long-term view on what the revenues could be, given that the regulation, there's been regulation on batteries in the last years, but there's still a lot being drafted right now, especially in regards to, for example, capacity markets, which is something that we can see in other countries that we don't have in Spain. But, you know, considering that there are a couple of things that are interesting here to take into account. One thing is that the integration of renewables in the Spanish grid will definitely require a vast amount of storage. Right now, you know, we are in 20 gigas of PV, 30 of wind. The updated National Climate Plan has increased there, and it becomes more ambitious in what we want or what the energy transition in Spain should look like in terms of renewables, and that would only be possible with battery storage. The industry, I think, have started to develop storage. We, in fact, we're also hybridizing our plants with storage, also looking at standalone. With the view that, you know, when these projects are fully developed, which, you know, in Spain it takes a while to develop things, it's not as we all know here, the regulation will already be in place, and there is a need, right? But definitely, I think Spain is a bit, you know, we are a bit late to the game. as we tend to be in some cases. But looking at how this market is evolving in other countries, we can see how it will be evolving also in Spain. And the experience is that, for example, in Aquila, we already have an operating facility in Belgium. We are building in Germany. We are developing in Greece, where there's already, solid regulation that, makes the business case viable. And so, we believe that at some point it will become viable as well in Spain, together with the, like all these technologies, with the continuous increase, improvement, development in better batteries, and also with cheaper cost and cheaper LCOE.
Good. In our case, it's quite similar. Let's say that our international experience helps us to have a vision. So, for instance, in the storage field, we have a standalone battery in Ireland. Obviously, the grid conditions in Ireland are different, but we see in other markets that are farther along the way than Spain that somehow will get there. Obviously, it's a matter of managing risk and being prudent, but we understand that once we fulfill the requirements for a successful business case in Spain, the projects will happen. So we take early positions. So, for instance, we are developing a storage project in Spain, and it's similar with the hydrogen. Market condition or drivers may be different, but somehow, we foresee that maybe it takes longer. So we're trying to understand what are the drivers for an early development, or what could be the drivers in the future for a successful project, and we try to take those positions. But obviously, you need to take, if you're willing to accept those risks, you need to take them in order to have a successful project, maybe in 5, 7, or 10 years.
Okay.
Okay, I think that the view of these technologies, I think is that depends a lot about your position in the market. Okay, it's not the same like Avoc being a developer or even Aquila like IPP. Okay, in the case, for example, of Everwood, that we are a fund fundamentally focusing in Spain and Portugal, thinking on investing on projects right now and so on, probably is something that is not for us. Okay, the business case, as you say, is not working well. I think that typically when you talk about battery storage and hydrogen in the same basket, I don't think is that they are the same. Okay, battery storage is something that there are plenty of experience in other markets like Australia, UK, even Italy, for sure, USA, that makes that's something that we need to implement in the coming future, or even right now. So it's something that is going to come in months, probably, or weeks. So it's something that probably right now the business case is not very good, but that's something that is going to work, okay? But hydrogen is completely different. Probably is for the coming, 4 or 5 years. I know I'm not an expert on that, but we were reviewing a lot of opportunities on that, and there are many, many uncertainties on this that even the business itself is under doubt. Because
Okay. Insisting a little bit on this topic, and let me address this directly to Jorge, because you're an IPP, right? And I assume you have certain strict rules for capital allocation. Is it right to think that this capital allocation for development seems to be more based on a vision, or fear to missing out, rather than solid returns, numbers, expectations?
Well, as mentioned, right now the regulation in Spain, there are certain services, ancillary services that you cannot take revenue from in Spain that you can in other countries, the capacity market. There's also some regulation in regards to, whether, very simple things such as, are you able to charge from the grid in a hybrid project? These kind of things are not yet resolved in Spain. So, when we look at the business case for these projects, we are not looking solely with the current regulation in mind. We are looking also to what's going to happen, what's going to come, as Jose Angel mentioned, right? We have a view of how this has developed in other countries. We have a vision. Hybridizing with the battery storage, it's not a very complex matter at the moment, right now. Considering that the amount of space needed is nothing, very very little compared to what you need for PV or wind. However, when it comes to standalone, things are a bit more complex. We talked here about how dry the grid is at the moment, and the fact that right now standalone battery storage systems are still considered as generator, a pure generator, right? Even though, in fact, they should be helping the grid. It's not a load. I mean, they also act as a load. So the fact that the rules that apply for access to the grid remain the same, from PV and battery is also a limiting factor in development of this technology in Spain, which, as I mentioned, is very much needed now, and it's going to be even more needed in the coming future when we have a much higher integration of renewables in the system.
Good, thank you. So let's move to another topic, which is basically the struggles of projects that have been under development for quite a while, to reach the milestones and avoid the threat of being, cancelled or revoked. Some of these projects seem to have progressed. This goes to you, Ines. Seem to have made significant progress, but now find a difficulty that was kind of unexpected a few years ago. What's your view on this?
Well, thank you for the question and for inviting me to this panel, which already shows a little bit of a sensitivity regarding what is called the social license. So my fellow speakers were talking about, let's say, the technical aspects, the revenue streams, the, let's say, bureaucratic procedures, and how many delays, no? Some projects have been already 4 or 5 years under development, with a dry grid, with a lot of uncertainties. And I wonder how many of my fellow speakers are considering in their daily work the lack of community engagement, and how this can impact the feasibility of the project. Because what I am seeing in the few months I am being involved in this matter is that projects that have even reached a favorable declaration of environmental impact assessment are being turned down. And basically the reasoning is not even technical. It's not even, argumented on a legal basis, which allows to modify the project, but there is an underlying bias against the project, touching very subjective aspects, such as landscape, ruining the landscape, not making compatible the use of the land with other traditional uses that are very rooted in the tradition, in the culture, in the belonging of the people to the land, and feeling almost conquered by an investor that is not even from Spain nor the region, and so on. And in this neutral position that I am playing, I am finding out the real, the reality without censorship about what's going on. And I would really like to contribute in, making the sector be able to overcome this, because obviously I'm very much in the advocacy of renewable energy, and I do believe that this technology has come to improve the lifestyle of human beings. But I want to be a bit of criticism. I want to bring this to the conference, because the sector is showing that does not understand what's going on the local communities. And there is a need to narrow the gap. And this narrowing of the gap cannot happen with documents and permits. It must happen really gaining trust, and trust is not gained through permits. And unfortunately, the regulator has designed the development with a participation of the local communities on what I would consider a late stage. So this is not only the responsibility of the ones promoting the parks, but we have to see creative ways. My advice is definitely to do collective actions, not only keep the projects individually, because this is seen as a way of wanting to push a project because there is a very clear economic benefit for the company going to the place, and talking about its project. I would advise to do collective actions because they're more neutral and the conversation can, happen more freely and easily. I don't want to extend a lot my participation. I think that the main and key word is trust, and this is sometimes brought forward in many panels to overcome difficulties, but I really want to strengthen this. There's really good projects that I'm working in, technically like super mega big, like really good projects that are not being able to be carried out. Projects that have invested millions of euros and that have been under development, as I said, 4 or 5 years, and that will eventually not happen, and this is critical. And for now, the government is not doing anything, so there are actions to be done here. And I would like to bring along a little anecdote, but when I talk about this subject, normally, people are very concerned because they're suffering this, but sometimes I get people answering back, well, you must talk with the ESG department or, communications department. And I think that is good enough because there is a specialization, but this actually affects the green field and it affects the operational stage because community engagement is evolving all the time and must be embedded in all the phases of the project to the point that if you don't consider it in a very, very, very early stage, it won't work. So I wonder if departments are working with the ESG and how much they are following the recommendations of their department in the conception of their projects.
Okay, we can go
we
to
can
that.
we can talk about this in the coffee breaks. There's a lot of dramatic situations that I would like to really not talk about, but it might raise awareness. And I'm also having really positive feedbacks from communities where we arrive in a very early stage, even before identifying the land, and people are thanking the fact that we are going there personally, explaining what renewable energies are about, what are the myths, how to, welcome this, how can be a profit not only for them, for Spain, adding value to our economy, technology, innovation, etc. And I really advise everyone to incorporate this in an early stage, and why not with a neutral agent such as Mediación Verde, but they can do themselves, and I would be happy to give advice and share my experiences.
Good. I encourage the audience to approach you in the coffee break and go deeper into that. I see Marta has something to say.
Yes, it's going to be
this.
super briefly. And also, please let me know if I'm speaking super fast because I used to be doing that. So, yeah, it's a really good point what Ines is bringing to the table. And actually, I'm enjoying a lot the previous panel because it's a hot topic right now, how to bring the communities in and how to connect all the different stakeholders involved on the project. So it's something that I have the feeling, and maybe it's a personal feeling, that in Spain, we have been a little bit late on it, in the sense of it's not just bringing in the communities, but also educating the different, stakeholders involved on the way, on all the phases of the projects, because it's quite often that I need to be saying, please, this is for the benefit of everyone, so you need to be, really embedding that principles and trying to show those in the sense of a basic and really silly example, keeping the sites clean. For instance, I'm saying you need to, you are part of a community, a small one, and you need to be sure that you are giving like a look, the site is looking good, you are approaching the people, so you are open to talk with them, and even during construction, sometimes we are giving the back to the communities, and I think that is a super bad approach on that, because what you are facing after during the operational phase is that the people is reluctant and it's just not really involved on the community, on the project to the community. So I'm totally agree on that point. So I think that from our side, as the role that we're playing over here, that is a really key one in all the different phases, we need to be ensured that we are making that message clear to the community, saying we are here, we are trying to reduce, the carbon footprint, so we are working, to have a better future, and of course, you need to make the community be part of it and educating the different parties. So thanks, Ines.
Yeah, very, very fair point. Yeah, go ahead, Hugo.
Let me, I think, something, a personal view, okay? Not a review, but okay. It's very good, it's beautiful, these kind of things, community and so on. But the point is, if you see from the side of the sponsor, the developer, and so on, nowadays we have the responsibility of increasing all of the problems with the permitting, deadlines, increasing the cost of the land plots, okay, in order to pay to the local people and so on. And it seems that everything has to be done by the owners of the projects, okay? Educating, as Marta says, doing community engagement. What means community engagement? Okay, I am paying probably a lot of people more than they are going to be in their homes collecting money and so on, and that's it. They are going areas with probably nothing at the economical point of view are going to rising up just because of this. I know that it's polemical, but I mean, these kind of things that is always seems against the owners, okay? We are the bad guys with the money and so on. No, these are the things. We are trying to invest a lot of money on that.
Thank you for bringing this. I love your comments, because I feel the same actually. I've always worked on your side. It is just recently that I get this position, and I totally agree. I follow it. I sometimes have asked myself, for those of you that are older or in my generation, at some point, the Spanish government, which really wanted to eradicate AIDS and also protect the people with this illness, not to be discriminated against, invested in an advertisement on TV. I don't know if you remember this, the SIDA, NODA, and in 2 minutes, the message was clear. So in my belief, the government should be doing something similar, supporting renewable energy generators, so that in 2 minutes, the population has cleared the message and supports and encourages the solidarity principle that should govern the whole energy transition. So some areas will be more affected than others. Obviously, they have to be gaining some benefit, and one of the claims they're bringing forward is our electricity bill is just the usual one, and we are suffering this, and what's going on here? They don't even understand how the market works. I don't even understand it, and I'm part of the sector. So what I mean, I have my ignorance in the communities as well, but what is more important here is we're seeing this as an additional layer in our responsibilities and obligation. And my proposal is not this one. It's not adding a burden, it's restructuring how we are designing our projects. When you talk with the community facilitates, smoothens the process.
But what is the community?
The community is all the stakeholders that are going to be directly impacted by the project. This varies depending on the location. So you might have more agricultural activities, so basically the associations or the cooperatives that are in this field will be very relevant, but sometimes there are others. There is tourism, there is whoever. There are other movements that are more on the provincial level, but that are taking a role that is very representative in municipalities. Obviously, we have 900 municipalities, and I'm sure yesterday I was in Navarra, and there were two neighbor municipalities that had such a different approach regarding a wind project that both of them could see, and the approach was totally different. So what I mean is that the community varies and their needs as well. But yeah, basically there is a restructuring, and believe me, that the process is smoothened and facilitated once you include all these stakeholders that normally are discarded from the conversation because they're not bringing revenue. And it smoothens the whole thing. In my experience yesterday, even land has been proposed for the project. Land that is publicly owned.
I need to cut you here,
Yes,
sorry.
sorry.
We're very, very short time. And I want to pass the word to Rafa, who didn't speak yet. The thing here is whether this is an additional hurdle or an additional opportunity. The thing is, this will stress the supply chain. This will stress the ability to build the projects on schedule, considering the tight deadlines. So I ask you, what should developers, sponsors, investors do to overcome this situation? What's your take on this and your advice?
Yeah, thank you. Well, obviously my concern is the construction timeline that we are going to face in the next year. We all know that there is a huge amount of projects that are willing to have or to reach ready to build AAC and building permit within the next 3 to 6 months. And according to the current regulation, where all of them have to reach the target date of June 2025, until it is extended, we hope it will, but it is not yet. And considering the current timing on the legalization of the projects, since CFE, let's say mechanical completion, until APESPE, or regeneration, is taking currently around 3 to 5 months. We are having a limited spot of time of around 9 to 12 months to undertake the construction, the execution of all these huge amount of projects. That is going to collapse. I mean, it's going to be impossible to build all these projects on that timeline. There is not going to be resources, and not only long lead items, but also regular main component chain items like panels, trackers, or rack systems, inverters, cabling, and also, additionally, human resources. Local subcontractors, civil works, mechanicals, electricals, engineering firms. So my recommendation, my suggestion to all these clients, IPPs, developers that are really willing to reach the ready to build in the next 3 months, just to move a step in advance and start reaching agreements with EPC contractors or BOP or suppliers in order to launch limited notice to proceed or early work agreements with them that allow start engineering, basic surveys, purchasing engineering that allow the EPC contractor start negotiating with these suppliers and reach major service agreements with subcontractors months before. Because I have been receiving questions from clients saying, can you warranty or reserve capacity for the construction on next year? That's an ideal question, but it's is not real. I cannot reach any agreement until I have a project on the table. So my suggestion is just start working on that, move forward, reach agreements, take partnerships, and just help the rest of the team to reach the target. Because otherwise we will collapse and we will have half of the projects that will not be undertaken.
Thank you. Well, we have to finish here. Thank you to all of you for your fantastic contributions, and I hope you guys enjoyed it.